Okay, hello and welcome to ArtShow. I'm Craig Stover, the Executive Director of Allens Lane Art Center. And I have with me today, Lara Cantu-Hertzler. Hello, welcome. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
So Lara has been here with us for a couple of years. You had a show here about 2 years ago, I would say. And Lara teaches classes with us as well. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to start. Let's start with the basics. When did you first know that you wanted to become an artist?
So I don't know if I think that was definitely in my line of professions when I was a really young kid, you know, like I either wanted to be like a firefighter, a ballet dancer, or a painter. But yeah, so really early on, I was lucky enough to be in, I guess, even a preschool and a grade school that exposed me to, that allowed me to make art almost every day. So, and my parents used to take me to the art museum when I was really young, not to the barns or anything, but to the art museum on Sunday when it was still free. So yeah, they would always take me to the Impressionist section, and I fell in love with all the Impressionists and color and paint and pretty much.
So you liked it then, but when did you decide to actually become an artist?
You know, even when I went, I guess, so I went to the high school for creative and performing arts. So I was a visual arts major there.
Oh, okay.
So that, you know, it was sort of like, it wasn't like a decision. It was like, that was my talent. That was like, people, it was sort of noticed. I don't know if I was like, I am an artist, but it was just like, I just was an artist or something, just that and so I got into Kappa, and then I was exposed through Kappa to the PAFA after school programs.
Okay.
So I got to go there and draw from the live model, and I kind of fell in love with kind of like the smell of oil paint there. So I did my first oil paints in high school, and then I decided to that was the school that I really wanted to go to. I actually went to Moore College of Art and Design for 1 semester.
Okay.
But they didn't have any painting the first year. So I was just like, I need to, and I had a friend who was going to PAFA, and she was like, yeah, all I do is draw and paint and sculpt from the model every day. So I was just like, that's where I need to be.
Yeah, let's slide into that.
Yeah. So then I guess when I was at the academy, I got really into it because it was a 24/7 endeavor. It was just drawing the model or painting or sculpting the first 2 years, or printmaking. And then I chose to be a painting major and focus on paint. And although I loved all the other media too, and then when I got into the studio, we had critics, and I kind of like figured out a good work ethic. I actually got to do an artist residency in Lancaster, going into my 3rd year when I was there. So that's when I got a little stipend of just like, well, it was like $1,000 to buy paints. So I just hit the art store, bought.
So it was like 3 tubes of paint.
No, I bought the best paint. I went to the Old Holland case.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
They didn't really, I don't think the PAFA, I don't think that they liked my paintings because my sense of color is a little bit different than their very traditional school in terms of like the color, the way that they see color.
Their tonality is
they see more range. In tones, like light and dark, rather than hues. I guess. I mean, that's, you know, I might get in trouble with somebody for saying that, but I think that they are very much like a tonal school.
Yeah.
And they're more about like form and light, and it's about classicism.
Yeah.
And I think that was a really, really important foundation for me. And I really appreciate it.
Well, you know, I ask about like your start because I find it interesting. Some artists, like, they have the aha moment but you seem to have sort of just naturally slid right into.
Yeah, it was like, you know, I did other things. I did dance as well when I was in high school. I did ballet, which I still really love.
Do you think that that affected your work at all?
I think so. I think that there's something about like, I mean, this is not a figurative piece, but there's something about the like movement and being kind of like feeling within your body, and especially when you do figurative work, to like actually like kind of feel what the figure is feeling, like feel the pose that the figure is in. So yeah, I would say it definitely did affect my work.
Well, you know, you kind of answered my next question, was what makes you, you know, be in Philadelphia as an artist? So I guess my real question is, what makes you stay in Philadelphia as an artist? Because you put down roots here, you have family here, right?
Yes, this is where I'm from. Yeah, grew up in Philly, from Philly. I kind of don't live so far from where, well, I was actually born in Boston, but we moved here when I was really young. That's not so interesting. I mean, my dad was in school in Boston, so so that's why. So then he just got a job here, and then I think that Philly is a really great place to live because it is affordable-ish. It's becoming, you know, there's more and more people moving out of New York and moving here, and you know, things are going up, but I think that it's still really affordable. And there's a lot of artists who live here. There's a nice community of artists, and I guess that's really what keeps me here, the community that I've found.
I found that, you know, the arts community is strong. There really aren't a lot of collectors in Philadelphia. They tend to go to DC or New York.
Yeah.
But on the upside of this, you know, I too agree that there's a great arts community. And what I find is that a lot of the artists that are here are really top quality artists, and they're making work not because they're making money at it, but because they're driven to make the work. And I think that's reflected even in the work that you do. I think I can see the passion in it.
Okay.
And that's what I really like. Yeah. So anyway, that was
Thank you.
a kudos to you. Yeah. But well, speaking of that passion, it makes me wonder about, you know, you had mentioned earlier about different sort of mediums that you practice. You know, as an artist, you always are exposed to these sort of, you know, different processes, different mediums in order to express yourself. What was it about painting that really stuck? Was it just because was always in your wheelhouse, or because I'm sure you had opportunities to do other stuff, but why painting?
You know, I think that there's I like the physicality of the paint. Obviously I love color. So I guess it's for me, I've done traditionally oil paint. So I kind of started working in oils at the academy, and then I did lots of mixing of colors for a while, and like, I don't know if I'm getting off topic.
No, that's okay. You're doing great.
And then I kind of got sick of mixing colors, and then I was using a lot of like paint sticks and just like out of the tube color, and just like it kind of became about placement and also in caustics, and got really into texture. So I feel like a lot of times my paintings like explore like the boundaries of like what paint is. Like there's almost like a sculptural element to my paintings, because I explore transparency versus opacity, and also like texture, like having something very, very thin and like washy on the surface versus something very thick and textured. And so it was getting, when I was doing encaustics, it was like really like that. But you know, with the COVID, I'm going back to oil because it's a little bit, the encaustics are more toxic, and And now I'm getting really into mixing again.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I'm doing all these huge charts and color wheels, and really like trying to like relearn and like re-understand, like kind of like I was almost like a kid again. Like I've never like learned anything because I'm teaching color. So I'm trying to like rediscover it for myself. And I feel like through that, I'm actually like getting a greater understanding and learning, which is the greatest thing I think at any level, you know?
So with I mean, I obviously understand the love of paint. I've got it myself, right?
Yeah.
So you had mentioned about a sculptural quality to the paint.
Yeah.
So have you explored sculpture? Do you continue to think about it?
Yeah.
Where does that sit in your wheelhouse?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's something about painting where it's like I'm making like a window into like a world. So I think that there is like a sculptural element, and I like want. But yeah, I did do sculpture in art school, and I have done a little bit since. I have to like, I guess I'm still thinking about like, I do want to do sculpture. I do think, you know, it's like, I kind of want to do everything. And, you know, I think of like artists like, you know, like Degas or like whatever, like de Kooning or Picasso, who like did like, it wasn't just painting, you know, it was a lot of different things, or like Matisse, you know, they're doing like painting, printmaking, sculpture. And I do believe that learning new medium teaches us about the visual language.
Is dance still part of that?
Yeah, so I'm just doing dance now. So I'm started just recently in the last year, kind of going back to dance and just kind of doing it as like an exercise. And it's kind of like, it's like meaningful movement is what I think of it as. And, or somebody, I was speaking to a dancer and that's what she said. It's like, it's not just like you're running on a treadmill.
Right.
It's like, you're really it's like you're doing art with your body and, you're stretching and strengthening at the same time. And I think it's like, yeah, I feel like it has like opened me up to like, I think the more creativity, you know, that you open yourself up to, the better.
Yeah.
Like for me, like I think it like it's helpful. And so I started working through that. Then I started working from dancers, actually just online, that like photos that I saw recently. So when I'm thinking about putting together, I'm trying to put together maybe a class of that too. But you know, it's like just teach a class on anything that I'm working on. That's pretty much.
Well,
that's pretty much what I've been doing.
Just go with what works.
Yeah.
Well, you know, you talked about dance and sculpture a little bit. And, and what I find that I often have to talk to parents about when they're talking about getting their kids engaged, I talk about dance. You know, one of the lessons that I learned is that it really teaches you a center of gravity. You know, not only the center of gravity of yourself, but the center of gravity of objects and of other things. And I see it in your work. You know, I see sort of a groundedness to it. There's the fluff on the sides, but there's definitely a groundedness to it. So I don't know if you're aware of that, but I see it.
Oh, that's cool. That's good to know. Yeah, I think it's like. Well, okay, another thing that I try to capture with my work is actually, it's not just like having like good or interesting color, like bright colors. It's like having colors that create depth, you know? So like a lot of times it's like something in space. Like I'm trying to like actually like create space with color. But so I think that is the interesting thing about painting to me. And like, it's like, that's why it's like, almost more beneficial than sculpture. But I think that like just everything informs everything.
Oh yeah,
you know,
it's all related. It's all one thing.
Yeah, like you know, when I was at PAPA, like we did sculptures of the head, like head structure, and then we painted the head, and it was like so informative. It was so helpful to like have the physical head in front of us and like know all the angles, and then that just informs the painting, or the painting also, you know, informs the sculpture. It's like, it kind of like goes both ways. So.
Well, I want to talk about your process. Before I do, I want to ask our audience, after we're done talking here, we're going to be taking questions. So if anybody has any specific questions for Lara, please use the chat feature down below and we'll make sure to relay those questions to Lara. So going back, I'd be curious to know about your ideas, you know, when you're thinking of making something, your process. So I know some artists, their process is, you know, oh, I see something and I'm going to recreate that, or I'm going to work from that. Whereas others sort of experiment and build up. They may not know what the picture's going to be. You know, I'm pretty sure that you don't know the final version of what your picture's going to be. I do see experimentation in your work, but I'd be curious about your starting point. When the inspiration strikes, you know, what is it that lights that spark? Is it something you see, or do you know you want to work on something and you're going to build up to that something?
Yeah, I think that for me, inspiration comes in different ways. Like it comes sometimes from an experience or just like something that I'm experiencing or visually seeing at a moment. Sometimes like, you know, I'll get a vision.
Okay.
Or sometimes I'll have a dream. You know, I think I started painting, I work a lot from photographs. I do work, recently I've been working from life. I work from, you know, and also sometimes I just make stuff up and work from memory. So
where do the photographs come from?
Okay, so they're photographs I've taken.
Oh, okay.
Just like usually photographs I've taken, or well, in the case of the dancers, there's like, I guess, some of the paintings that I've done recently of dancers have been just from photographs that I've seen online. But I did get a model. I actually at some point along the road through showing met a ballet or like a professional dancer. So I recently got a chance to work with her and do some video work with her. So I'm excited to. I haven't begun working with that yet because.
So video is now going to be a new component, a new outlet for you, maybe?
I don't know.
Or experimentation, I should say.
No, well, what I was doing was I took slow motion videos of her dancing, like doing leaps and like extensions and whatever, twirls, kind of like outside. And then it was like, you know, just on my phone, and it was slowed down. So like, and she was like wearing this like flowy skirt. So it's like, I guess I am interested in the movement of like the dress and like how when the dancer is like moving, then like the costume that kind of like moves with the body. I think that's like really beautiful and interesting. Yeah, I kind of like don't like exclude anything. I think the creativity is just sort of like, I don't try to question anything. I kind of try to go with whatever.
It looks like you do work in like series though. So, you know, would I be correct in saying, you know, there might be a year of dancers and then, or more than that, or thematic? Is it a thematic more than a series? Hard to say.
Yeah, I do work in series. I think that I like to not put too much pressure on one piece. That like is like, this is the dancer painting. I think it's useful to explore it in a few different ways, at least 6. And I'm still working on the dancers. Yeah, and I could see doing sculpture. It's like each thing, like I feel like I don't want to just do like one sculpture. Like I want to like explore it in different and do, you know, yeah, I think series is the best way. It's almost like I'm doing one painting, but it's like in a few, you know, through a series instead of just having to commit to the one image.
So when you do a painting, I mean, the big question is how do you know when you're done, especially if you're doing sort of series work? You know, the quote I love the best is always de Kooning talking about the fact that he always considered his pictures abandoned, right? So it just at some point it's like, all right, you know, next. And I'm curious, do you have that flash, or do you tire of it, or is it like a ta-da, done?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good question because that's a really good question because sometimes I think it's like the idea is to continue the feeling of the start. And sometimes I think it doesn't happen to just me. I'll start a painting and it'll be like, this is so good. And then I'll like lose like the feeling or the initial beginning feeling to the painting. But then, so sometimes I feel like often I've learned how to like work through that and it becomes maybe a different painting, but I think that like I get a lot of energy from just starting a painting. It almost doesn't even matter like what it's of. And so recently I've been trying to just like start as many paintings as I can and like kind of like just like organically like just work on the painting when I see something in the painting to work on. And I have some paintings that I've worked on for like a very long time. And I have this one painting in my studio of like a woman and a tiger, and I just keep like touching it, but like I'll stop working on it for a long time. And it is like an abandonment. And I think that sometimes it's like, you can get inspiration or you get ideas sometimes sometimes just turning around a painting and then not looking at it and then coming back to it, even just a few months later, it'll like tell you if it you'll either say, oh, this is actually better than I thought it was, or, oh, I have an idea for it. Like, I think it's not done. I mean, it really, that's the beauty of painting, that you can just continue if you, it's like, it's your painting unless somebody buys it and you don't have it, which is I guess that's a kind of a good problem to have. I think that in a way that's like, I think if somebody buys it, then to me, that really tells me that it's finished.
Okay. that'll do it, right? Well,
like,
you'd have no more access. What if they gave you the painting back years later? Would you paint back on it again? Would you feel okay doing that?
Yeah, I think that if I saw something, there's like different, so I've heard like different stories of, been like reading all these different like art books, and there's, I forget which artist it was, that was like, oh, I just need, it might have been a Monet, it might have been, I think it was Francis Bacon. He was like, I need this painting back. Like, he had given it to his friend, I need this painting back. And he destroyed so many paintings. Yeah.
Right.
So that's the issue.
Right.
So it's like almost like, if it's good enough for somebody to buy, then that probably means like, if they're they're gonna put money down on it, like, I feel like, to me, it's like, I can just always like just do another one.
Right. But it is a good rule. I think that's a fantastic rule for artists to have. I think the story that you brought to mind is, I think it was Alfred Sisley. I'm not sure. I have to look this up. That he had a painting in a museum, and he had a friend distract the guard, and he had little dabs of colors on each of the fingers, and he would go up and he would change the painting in the museum. It was a great story. So I'm always fascinated to find out where artists actually do let go and whatnot. So let's back up at the beginning. I'd be curious to know, we talked a little bit about your processes. I like finding out when artists have rituals. Do you have any like, oh, before I start this picture, I need to have an apple, glass of water, and certain music on or something? Do you find yourself doing that, or does it just sort of flow?
What is good? I feel like recently I find this is weird, but if I do all the dishes, that'll have like a productive day or something.
That's perfect. Is there a dish series in your future?
I think the dishes are probably, I'll probably be doing dishes as soon as all the restaurants open up.
That is awesome.
I'm just kidding. No, but I think, there's this book called The Artist Way. It's like kind of like a workbook for creativity. And there's like different like activities that are good for creativity, like driving is good. And she said that doing dishes is actually really good. And there's something like productive about it. It's like, I've done this like just, yeah, I don't know. There's something about the scrubbing. It like,
Do you own it? So you don't own a dishwasher? That's what
no,
I'm hearing.
I don't.
And you wouldn't
So
want one, so it would ruin the
I
artistic
wouldn't,
process.
because it's just like, you have to wash the dish anyway and then put it in the dishwasher. Like, it's like, I don't really understand what people do with the dishwasher.
You got me there. I'm stumped. So here's a question that I've heard before. So in this artistic process from start to finish, what would you say is the hardest part of it?
The hardest part of the artistic, like of making a painting?
Yeah.
I think it is, it can be to just maintain that feeling of just like that initial reaction to the subject matter, and like to maintain the freshness of that initial feeling. Because I have a painting right now that when I started, I was just like, this is the best painting ever. It's like groundbreaking, and now it's like, and I still think there's hope for it, but it's definitely not where it was. And that doesn't mean that I shouldn't. I think it's okay to take things too far. It's just maybe sometimes it's better just to start over again.
So what is outside of the artistic process, what's the hardest part about being an artist?
Oh, I mean, okay, so the hardest part, it's like juggling. Right now, I'm teaching classes, and it's like, it's a lot of footwork to like, do the, print out advertisements and put them up around town and put stuff out putting yourself out there. And I think it's really important to have, like a solid group of friends and people around you who are encouraging. Like if you have any discouragement at all, it's like kind of amazing, like how like toxic that can be for your creativity. If like people are just like, oh, like, if whether it's your parents or, your boyfriend, like you want to be with, or just friends, like you need to get a real job. I think it's like you really like need to be, I think being around people who believe in you, and like, it's always, I think artists, it's like the starving artist idea. I guess that's the hardest thing, to just like find a way to like, to work, to have enough money and do your artwork, and not think about money when you're painting, I guess, or doing your artwork. And I think it's hard, but I think it's important, because it's never good to just like be like, to paint something or start something because you think it's going to sell, and you're not really into it. You have to just do whatever, to be true to yourself, how, as cheesy as that sounds, I guess.
Most of the artists that I come across, and I come across a lot of artists, aren't represented by a gallery or are struggling. And I find it very interesting about nowadays, and I'm sure this was true even years ago, an artist does not only need to be a pro in what it is you're creating, but it seems now you need to know how to do marketing and inventory and finances, and there's so many. You have to be your own business.
I think it's always been that way, in a sense. Like, like the artists that we know about today, they were all good business people, and I think it's like, we just hope, that we just hope that, they won't be thrown away at the end. But, I think it's like, I guess to me, it's like, it makes me feel like my life is meaningful. It gives me meaning. It's the way I am able to like find meaning in life.
Oh yeah.
So for me, it's worth it to just do it, but it is a lot of work. And I do struggle over my paintings, and I think everybody does. It's not like it's like a lot of people think like doing art is like, it's like, oh, it's so relaxing for, people who don't know. And I think the more people who try to like to get into painting or start making art in some way, like I think they immediately become appreciative of like, how much work it takes. It does take a lot of work, and to just like, and you have to like you have to like know yourself. You have to like, it's like a constant self-discovery.
Yeah.
As well as like technical. It's like technical stuff, and then also like almost like a spiritual self-discovery.
Yeah, well, I've always felt that, sort of art, science, religion, philosophy, it actually is all sort of one thing that sort of blends together.
Totally.
I mean, you probably would agree that I find that, the process of being an artist and making art helps me answer the big questions of who we are and why we're here. And that doesn't really happen necessarily with every profession. So I'm kindred spirits, I guess we would say.
Yeah.
So speaking of making art, I'd be curious. Currently, what are you doing currently? I think I saw some dancer series that you were doing.
Yeah. So I've got a dancer series going, and then I guess the last couple weeks, maybe the last 3 weeks, I've also started getting into plein air painting, which means outdoor, like landscape painting from life. And, I read this book on Monet, and Monet is one of my favorite artists, and I've kind of always so I was doing all like 9x12 paintings. They actually started from photographs of flowers. And then when I went to Maine, just went to Maine for a few days this summer, which you did too. We talked about that, which is so beautiful, the light there. So I started, I think whenever I go somewhere, I've got to paint from life, and or just paint, what it, even sometimes from photos. But so I started, I painted there, and I think I brought back with me this like desire to like work from life again, and like work from nature. So I've been so this is a piece that I just did a couple days ago, and it's oil painting on Yupo paper that I did in the Wissahickon.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, what did you bring us here today?
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
So he said, so this is a current something. So I did, this is the second one, I think, of a new series of like large plein air paintings.
So you started this in Maine?
No.
Not this one, but this series, because I saw a few others.
Yes, I started working from life in Maine of like these birch trees, and then also I did some like sort of seascape, but the seascape looks like, it almost looks more like a lake in Maine than the ocean, because the waves are not, well, I mean, I'm sure if it's like really harsh weather, then it gets intense, but it's so beautiful there. And so I was just like, okay, this is such a beautiful thing to paint outside. And I feel like it's really moving, and there's something, it's just something that I've always wanted to do.
So that was sort of the start, and then you came back and you started this series.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've done sketching and a few others, but this seems like the start of a new series for you of these treescapes in Wissahickon.
Yeah. So I did some smaller ones to start out with, that were like 9x12, and I did a bunch of them, maybe like 12 or something. And then I was painting with an artist friend of mine, and she said, I think that you need like a larger canvas to like get in more trees, because my paintings were just of like, a piece, and like the 9x12 wasn't like kind of like expansive enough of a composition. So
is this the largest to date?
This is the largest from like, this is 30x30. And I don't know how much larger it will get. I think this is a good size, because it challenges me. So for working from life, I've done larger paintings, in the studio, but this is something that I did in like maybe 2 hours. And I kind of like it the way it is. And I think there's like a freshness, and I think before going back into it, instead of going back into this one, I think I'd rather start another one.
I agree. I think it's perfectly abandoned.
Yeah. For me, it's got like an energy, and I've thought about this for a while, even about other paintings. Like I like to kind of keep, I like to leave things a little bit open-ended. Like I don't like to like, paint all the leaves. I mean, there's no, I guess, I don't even know if there's any like particular leaf like defined in it, but like to capture the feeling that there are leaves through color, and like I was saying before, to try to capture space by using color. This was a sunset painting, so that's why the colors are extreme, and there's this movement kind of to working from life, because the light like changes, like the light will come in on a tree and it'll just be like glorious, and then you'll try to get it and then it'll go away, and then sometimes it comes back.
Hence the fascination of Monet with his understanding of light. During the day.
Yeah. So I think that there's something very like, I guess for lack of a better word, just real about it. Like, even though it's maybe like looser, there's just something, I think there's more, you can see more depth than working from a photograph. But yeah, I think it's good to work a lot of different ways. And I plan on working, still trying to work from my imagination and still work for, I'm kind of like gathering my nuts, like, for the winter.
I know what you mean.
I'm thinking of like, there's like these shows, like these survival shows. Like there's a show Alone, and this one girl, it's a survival show. They're in the Arctic, and this one, people have to hunt animals, and they get into systems. And this, to me, this is like, I don't know. Yeah, it's like setting up, like, hopefully, I don't know, that sounds so silly, but it's like sounding, like, it's like, I guess that's something I've been thinking about, like, kind of like just being out in the wilderness and like using your art to like survive. Like this is
I smell a new reality show.
This is my bow and arrow. I don't know, but it's not like really like I don't want to kill any animals, but yeah, I don't know.
Well, I love that, with this one, what I'm drawn to is the handling of the paint, because you have this, beautiful scumbling that occurs on here. And then it really, these sort of hard lines where the trees meet the scumble, it's quite nice. It dances, which I think is really interesting. Do you bother title these, or is it just number them, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's something like probably descriptive. I usually have kind of descriptive titles just so I know. I don't really think about like, I don't like name it, like it's not like a person's name. Like this is Cynthia.
Well, hello, Cynthia.
No, it's probably like Sunset in the Wissahickon. Yeah. I usually, that's what, just so that I can keep track of it. And I think like titling something untitled is kind of a cop out, or it's kind of like, to just number it. Like I want to, but it's basically, I guess, titles are tough for me.
So before we move on to the questions, you had mentioned Monet, and I was curious. I love finding out about what artists look at, what other artists look at. So besides Monet, is there any surprises, any people or anybody that you've found recently that you're really enamored with, anybody that you can't put down?
Oh yeah, there is a new artist that I found, but I forget their name. But
but you remember the artwork, right? So,
the artwork is really. He did these. It's kind of like a new. It's sort of like there's definitely a Francis Bacon. Francis Bacon is one. I saw a show of his, and I think he's.
I could see the paint handling. The way he works at
there's not as dark. I don't know.
Not the tonality, but the way, the movement.
Yeah, I love Matisse and Van Gogh as well. I guess the Bay Area people.
Diebenkorn, I would imagine.
Diebenkorn. Ewan Uglow, I think, is a really great colorist. And I think like the way, I'm not as tight as he is, but I really love the way he uses color to create space.
So what do you?
Joan Mitchell is like, she's
definitely.
like, yeah, she's like real, she's kind of like Monet. She's like the next level of Monet, I think. Yeah.
So what do you think about that, the old statement of painting is dead?
Oh. Well, I mean, it's only dead if people stop doing it.
Yeah, right.
You know, it is like almost like an ancient art form, you know, like, you know, there's this whole history, you know, even dating back to like the cave painting.
Right.
So it's almost like people started the visual language before we even started, you know, so it's almost like, I think it's like what makes us human.
Yeah.
Visual art and being an artist and trying to understand our experience on like an emotional, spiritual level. So I think that, you know, those people, it might be dead for some people. I think unfortunately a lot of people, I think art is a little bit too like exclusive, or it's not inclusive enough. And you know, what they have in the museums, they don't have enough people of color. They don't have enough women. So yeah.
I agree with you. I just out of curiosity, had you seen, speaking of the cave paintings going way back, they apparently found cave paintings that they believe were done by Neanderthals, which is really fascinating to talk about.
Cool.
Yeah, so way back. But yeah, I don't think painting's going anywhere. It's been around for a long time.
I don't think so. I mean, unless, you know, I think even if we run out of paint and the materials, we'll be able to do charcoal. We'll go back. We'll probably end up going back to where we started. We'll end up in caves.
It's the new hot art form. You're gonna go back to cave painting. I like it.
Yeah, it's like evolution and then
I bet you get a grant for that.
Oh man, it's all about that. It's all about like these concepts I've got. Yeah.
You got my mind spinning. So we have just one question that was set forward by somebody. Thank you very much. This question says, what was your sculptural work like? Was it informed by meaningful movement as well?
So my sculptural work is the only thing that I think about when I think of sculpture is really sculpting the figure. And I think so. I think it was really, honestly, I think it is just, I've done a lot of series of women and architecture, but it was just like, it was pretty much just nude women, but like they were, you know, I do think about like Degas' sculpture. I think he's probably one of my favorite sculptors. So I think, you know, it's more about gesture. That's what I think of. And, you know, I think Michelangelo, I think like, it would be really awesome to try to do like a marble carving, because like the marble is like so smooth and it really looks like so I guess I'm interested in mediums that it like transcends the medium. Like marble looks like skin. But I also kind of decided that life-size sculptures are sort of creepy because they look so, even if it's like a bad sculpture and they're life-size, even if it's a mannequin, you like look at it and you're like, is that a person? So I don't know I don't know. It's like you're capturing somebody and they're like stuck and they want to start, I don't know. So
well, do you have the room for this? I mean, what's your studio like? Is it?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I'm in the this nice studio space in Germantown called the Firehouse Arts Studio. And it's not well, it's a pretty large space, but I share it with another artist. So yeah, I wouldn't have room to do like huge life-size sculptures probably, unless I just did like one, but I think I did one sculpture of a woman that was like kind of like in fetal position, and it was just about like this big, just with clay.
Recently?
Last year, yeah.
Okay.
And I just did it from a photograph. And,
all right.
And yeah,
Is that online?
No.
Can I convince you to put it online?
Yeah, I can put
like
it online. Yeah. Yeah, I think clay is like, I'll show it to you.
Yeah. So you have a website, Lara Cantu.
Lara Cantu-H.
H.com.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you're also on Instagram?
Yes,
Okay.
which is at Cantu-Hertzler.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we provide links on our website to see Lara's work. I highly encourage you to check out Lara's work online and see more of her work, and also to reach out to her if you have questions, and make sure that you go to her next exhibition.
Yay.
So, well, with that, I want to thank you for coming by. It was a real pleasure, a treat to talk to you, and thank you for bringing this work. What was it, Clara, or is it?
Yeah.
Right. So I want to thank you very much for coming by. It was a real treat.
Yeah,
and,
thank you so much for having me. It's
and-
always fun to talk to you, and Craig is such a great interviewer because he's also an artist.
This is a show about you, not me.
Yeah, but he really, I feel like he's, he does the gallery programs, and he has a really good eye for like putting together work and speaking with artists. And
So I put together classes that Lara is going to be teaching here. So make sure to go to allenslane.org and see all the classes that we have here. So with that, thank you again very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, Mark.